welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Abed Grober. Thank you for joining me. Today on our program, we'll visit the Rabin Center and Museum. Also have the center's Director of Education here in the studio. And later on the show, we'll hear all about the Israelis working in Hollywood. This week marks 19 years since the murder of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. A decade after the assassination, the Yitzhak Rabin Center in Tel Aviv was founded, aiming to keep the memory of the man and his work alive for future generations. Sandy Fortis takes us on a guided tour of the Israeli Museum at the Yitzhak Rabin Center.
We are in the heart of Tel Aviv at the Yitzhak Rabin Center. Founded in 1997 thanks to a bill by the Israeli parliament. Its aim is to honor the legacy of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. The museum tells two parallel stories, the story of the State of Israel and of Yitzhak Rabin's life. It contains 180 mini documentaries, 1,500 photos, and great amounts of memorabilia. Here the tour begins with the end, the assassination of Yitzhak Rabin on November the 4th of 1995, a murder committed by Yigal Amir, a Jewish right-wing extremist, at a peace rally in the square formerly known as the Kings of Israel, renamed Rabin Square after the tragic events. The moments remain etched in the memory of all Israelis.
I was shocked, all my family was shocked. We were crying like one of our family just was assassinated. But it was even bigger because he was the future of our dreams. He was a real leader.
We then enter a huge spiral, a chronological path that documents the life of Yitzhak Rabin. In small rooms, visitors get snapshots of Israeli society's history, from the Tel Aviv of the 1920s where Rabin grew up, to the creation of the State of Israel, the Six-Day War, and the Yom Kippur War. Then the political turmoil of 1977, the resignation of Yitzhak Rabin, his joining of the opposition political camp, up until the 1992 elections and his famous victory speech, "I will lead." So far, we have followed two parallel stories.
When he was elected, it was really a glimmer of hope. I think today there's no chance to make peace. He was the only one who could do it. It's very sad to go back to this period.
Yitzhak Rabin's second term was marked by big events. The signing of the Oslo Accords in 1993, the peace treaty with Jordan, and winning the Nobel Peace Prize in 1994. The tour is almost over, the announcement of Rabin's death to the nation. A shock for the people. Then comes the national funeral, the famous Shalom Haver, uttered by Bill Clinton at the funeral of the Prime Minister, and the touching words from his granddaughter, Noah Ben-Artzi. The museum ends the tour on the day after his death, a space that represents the hope of continuing the path started by Yitzhak Rabin. This graffiti wall is a copy of the wall next to his assassination site, where Israelis left spontaneous graffiti messages after his death. It is covered with a transparent window that invites visitors to leave small messages of their own. This is a tour hard to forget and brings out the happy and tragic side of Israel by honoring the life of one of the most iconic leaders and the way he paved.
Joining me now in the studio is Dr. Nurit Cohen-Levinovsky, the director of the Rabin Center Educational Department. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about the activities of the center.
Our main activity is hosting students and soldiers. Inside the museum, we give them guided tours, and afterwards we take them to workshops that try to connect what we saw just now in the museum to their current life and dilemmas and challenges in the Israeli society.
I see. And how do you make that connection? Because I would guess that's quite a challenge.
Right. What we're trying to say is that everyone at every age in the Israeli society has the ability to make a change, has the ability to do things for a better Israeli society and a better, more stable democracy. And
right.
What we're trying to do is, by portraying the life and career of Yitzhak Rabin and other Israeli leaders in the Israeli Museum, is tell the kids, look, there is still a generation of leaders that from a very young age took upon himself to make changes in the Israeli history, and you can do it too. Even in in a small scale, in your classroom or school or community or neighborhood, you can make a difference. That's one of our main objectives in our
in the center, of course.
Right.
Now, I gotta ask, do they show interest in the man? Because obviously the museum is celebrating his life more than or I wouldn't say more, but alongside commenting on his end, on his demise. But do people show interest in the man he was, or are they, to him, he's like Rabin? Because we're talking about kids who weren't even born.
Right. That's a huge challenge. Talking to kids that wasn't with us at that horrific night and has no personal memory of that tragic assassination. But what I can say is, after 4 years of that, of our museum being open and being on the air, is that kids really connect to that story. We succeeded in making an interesting museum for younger generations, and they connect even in the emotional level to the story, to the events that we portray, and something in the exhibition does it for them.
Right. Yeah. Now, you and I, we both know, and everyone who was here at the time knows, that he was a very controversial figure, Rabin, politically. And I would assume that nowadays people from all sectors and all walks of life come to the museum, and some have a preconceived notion of who he was and how just were his ways, let's put it that way. You have to deal with some complicated situations, I'd assume.
Right. Many of our visitors, from students and soldiers alike, grew up in homes that didn't approve of Yitzhak Rabin's choices and decisions. But what we are trying to say, and what is really important for us, is the national site that commemorates Yitzhak Rabin's life, is to say it doesn't matter what is your political opinion. What matters is that there was an Israeli prime minister that was assassinated by a Jew, and he tried, that the murderer tried to put an end to the Israeli democracy and to put an end to the Israeli state. And it doesn't really matter if you are in the left wing or in the right. It's irrelevant. What is important is that we know how to dissolve our differences and our arguments in a peaceful way by dialogue. That's one of our main objectives as well.
Now, one of the things we're hearing lately, it's been 19 years, and the ceremonies keep going on. Every year there's a ceremony, or nearly every year in the last few years. They all kind of look the same. What do you think needs to happen as time goes by? How can we adjust them so they will remain relevant?
I think that the Israeli current of events is so rapid, and things change so rapidly, that somehow the story of Yitzhak Rabin and his murder stays relevant in my eyes, I would say. It doesn't get old. I mean, it's still, because we are facing the same dilemmas as we were facing them in 1990.
Certainly, some would say even more so.
Right. So it's relevant. It's always, it still is a challenge, and it's still a sign, a warning sign for us, that for things that can happen, and for things that we ought to stop.
When you see the level of dialogue that is in society nowadays, are you concerned?
Yes, I think we have a reason to be concerned, because in more than one way, it seems that we didn't learn the lessons from the assassination, and we still have a lot of work to do in order to be a part of a very stable and firm democracy.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely doing your part.
Thank you.
Dr. Nurit Cohen-Levinovsky, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
Time to change the tone now. In a moment, we'll hear about the Israelis who are making a name for themselves in Hollywood. But first, our cultural recommendation of the day.
Travel in time to the Spanish Golden Century at the Prado Museum in Madrid. This time also exhibiting more than 200 famous works loaned by the Hamburg Kunsthalle Museum. The Hamburg Museum has the largest collection of Spanish paintings out of Spain, works that are deep-rooted in their country of origin. The Spanish Siglo de Oro exhibit has been made to honor the Baroque painter Bartolomé Esteban Murillo, alongside Diego Velázquez. You can also view sketches of important masters such as Alfonso Cano and Antonio del Castillo. And to accompany these maestros, Baroque Madrid's prestigious museum also offers preliminary studies of Francisco de Goya and masterful reinterpretations of works by Velázquez. Spanish sketches of the Hamburg Kunsthalle will take place at the Prado Museum in Madrid until February the 8th of 2015.
Time to bring some color into our lives. Shachar Peled is here with her segment Off Screen. When are you going to make a name for yourself in Hollywood?
Well, someday, Oded, someday soon. But until then, we've been especially impressed with especially Israeli actresses making their way, paving their way into Hollywood. I think the major start was with Ayelet Zorer, Israeli actress Ayelet Zorer, back in Munich, with directed by Steven Spielberg, alongside Eric Bana. Small role, then major role alongside Tom Hanks in Angels and Demons.
Yeah.
That was definitely major.
Who's the angel? Who's the demon?
Well, I'm not sure that was specifically the theme of the movie.
Okay, sorry.
And next, in recent Man of Steel, alongside Russell Crowe, also Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. We will soon be seeing her, or looking forward to see her as Wonder Woman, and Moran Atias, who's making her way in the TV show Tyrant, and small roles in Hollywood films. But they are now not alone. Only last week, the Israeli film industry was thrilled to learn that two of its sons, directors Nevot Papushador and Aaron Keshalets, who we already known with the great success their film Big Bad Wolves in 2013, made especially praised by Tarantino himself, saying it was the best film of 2013. They have now signed a contract with Sony Studios to remake the film Vengeance, French-Japanese film from 2009. So it's not that far away, but they have decided to adapt it perhaps to a more horror version of that 2009 thriller. And it seems it's a wave of success of Israeli artists in Hollywood. We've been speaking about Whiplash, where cinematographer Sharon Meir does an amazing job. He's a graduate of Sam Spiegel Film School in Israel, and he already made some great shots in Israeli films when director Damien Chazelle saw his works and elected him to this film. We've got Niva Diri, who won with his team for sound mixing in Gravity, the latest Oscars, a wonderful achievement. We've got Inbal Weinberger, who is a designer. She already worked on The Perks of Being a Wallflower and Blue Valentine, and she has two more projects on the way in Hollywood. So Israelis are a thing there in Hollywood. We also can
not to mention the old timers, Arnon Milchan,
and
the
Moshe
like.
Mizrahi, who was there a bit. But I think this is an era where we can see more and more Israelis successful in Hollywood because of the latest decade in Israeli film industry, which has had major success also in local cinemas and worldwide. It's matured. It's become much more not only the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but much more universal themes that more international audiences relate to. We can also mention Ari Folman, the director, which started with the great animated film Waltz with Bashir in Israel, which was also nominated for Best Foreign Film. We've seen him last year with the Congress, already cooperating with great names like Robin Wright and Harvey Keitel and John Hamm, and he's now working on a production and adaptation of Anne Frank's diary in animation. So these are very unique projects. It's not the mainstream Hollywood, but very fascinating projects ahead of us.
Yeah, very interesting people working there. It'll be really exciting to see what comes of it. Now it's on us to prove that we're worthy.
Absolutely.
You're worthy.
Good luck. Thank you.
That's it from us for today. I hope you enjoyed watching our show. We'll be back tomorrow with another one. So join us again. Bye-bye.